Good afternoon, South Mississippi. Meteorologist Taylor Graham here, joining you from our newsroom. Wanted to give a little bit of a breakdown of our forecast, and definitely feeling more like spring the past few days, and it seems like that trend is going to continue for quite some time. We have more of this spring-like weather up ahead in our forecast, so if you like the warm weather, I think you're going to like our forecast. Now, despite us seeing some cloud cover today, we've still warmed up into the low 70s in Gulfport, currently sitting at 71. That was as of about 1 o'clock. We've got a little bit of a southerly breeze, but even with that southerly wind over the cool water in the Sound, so it looks like we've managed to warm up into the 70s. And taking a look at temperatures across the board, many of us are in the 70s. Still seeing some upper 70s farther inland, 77 Poplarville, Wiggins, 76 up into Lucedale. And even those areas have seen a decent amount of cloud cover today. We may be a little bit cooler, it looks like, near Bay St. Louis, Biloxi, but we're still in the upper 60s. Across the board right now, temperatures are above average for this time of the year. We may still see a little bit of sunshine peek through this afternoon, but it's not going to be much. We're topping out right now in the low to mid 70s, and we're really not going to be cooling down too much this evening. Temperatures staying in the 60s for the most part shortly after the sunset. We'll drop into the upper 50s overnight tonight, but even then, that's above average for this time of the year. Typically, throughout early February, we have overnight lows in the 40s. It goes without saying that we are staying well above freezing tonight with these lows in the 50s. And for early February, this is pretty mild. Also noticing that the humidity is a little bit higher compared to what we've had the past couple of days. Now, the other key issue tonight is going to be more fog. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like it was too big of an issue this morning, but overnight tonight into Wednesday morning, we have another chance of seeing some patchy dense fog, maybe getting a little widespread at times. Some of that fog could potentially linger right along the coast tomorrow afternoon, and then another round of fog is expected Wednesday night into Thursday morning. This is fairly common during this part of the year. Part of the reason why is because we still have some relatively cool water over the northern Gulf and, of course, in the Mississippi Sound. Right now, our water temperature generally in the low 60s. What happens is we get these warmer air masses to move on top of the cooler water in the Sound. That cools the air, the moisture condenses, and we get that sea fog to spread a little bit farther inland. Eric yesterday posted a really interesting graphic showing all of these dense fog advisories pretty much all along the Gulf Coast. So it's not just us that get some of the sea fog during the winter. We see it often in parts of southeast Louisiana, around the New Orleans area. Mobile also usually deals with this fog during this time of the year. So just a heads up that tonight and also tomorrow night, chances are we are going to see fog across the area. For your marine forecast today, no longer under a dense fog advisory. That's some good news. Looking at a smooth to light chop, but a heads up, we may also see some of those dense fog advisories issued again over some of our water areas or marine areas. That goes for the Sound and also offshore. UV index today considered moderate, but we are seeing a decent amount of cloud cover, and we are going to be seeing low tide overnight tonight. High tide expected throughout tomorrow afternoon. And that water temperature, again, still remains fairly cool in the low 60s. But we are seeing our air temperatures over the next few days staying in the 70s. So that water temperature in the Sound will continue to creep up a little bit more day by day. Satellite this afternoon showing a good bit of cloud cover. We've got a few little breaks in the clouds, but even just looking at the window here at the station, I'm not seeing too many peaks of sunshine, and our tower cameras for the most part this morning have been showing a mostly cloudy sky. If you're lucky, you will see a little sunshine peek through those clouds, but even with all the cloud cover, we don't really have much rain on radar. Things are going to stay dry in terms of rainfall today, and even tomorrow, we only have a very small chance of seeing a few stray showers. We have a cold front well to our north, and behind the front, that's where the air is a little bit cooler up into North Mississippi. The coldest of the air, though, well to our north and west. Check out the northern plains. They're barely above zero at this point. So that brutally cold air is going to be staying well to our north. But look at the Gulf Coast. Things are very mild, even warm. No surprise, Miami sitting at 82, but over in Houston, they're in the upper 70s. They're seeing the 70s. Over into Brownsville, Texas, where we have that orange and yellow color, indicates the 60s and 70s. So very mild along the Gulf Coast today. And that mild air is going to be sticking around for quite some time. Part of the reason why is we have a ridge of high pressure, and that's centered almost right over the Gulf and parts of Cuba, but it's expanded far enough to the north to allow us to feel that warmer air. And not only is that ridge of high pressure giving us warmer weather, it's also keeping our rain chances pretty slim. I don't have much rain in the forecast over the next 6 to 7 days. And we do expect to see a little bit more cloud cover tomorrow, but even then our rain chances are still looking slim. So we're staying in the 70s today, nice and mild, especially for this time of the year. Overnight tonight, the fog will begin to creep back into South Mississippi. Wouldn't be surprised if we had another dense fog advisory. That could also go for parts of Louisiana and Alabama. Temperatures not dropping too much. We're likely going to stay in the upper 50s for the most part. And then as we head into Wednesday afternoon, high temperatures are likely going to be back into the 70s. Where we have more sunshine, we're going to be in the mid to upper 70s, and that mainly goes for inland areas. Those areas are also farther away from that cooler water in the Sound. Now, if some of the fog lingers right along the coast tomorrow, we may be just a little bit cooler, but even then the upper 60s, that's above average over this time of the year. It's almost like rinse and repeat. On Thursday, we'll start off likely with more of that patchy dense fog across the area. It may become widespread at times. And notice there that by Thursday morning, we may not even be as chilly. Some of us may be not even getting out of the 60s at that point. And by Thursday afternoon, we have a better chance of seeing the low 80s for our inland areas. That is, it goes without saying, well above average for this time of the year. Now, if some of those clouds stick around a little closer to the coast or that fog sticks around, we may not be as warm. But I think Futurecast is underdoing those temperatures, even on the coast, a little bit. We are forecasting highs for our coastal towns, mainly in the low to mid 70s on Thursday. Once again, even with some of those clouds sticking around on Thursday, just not really anticipating any rain. The same can be said for Friday, Saturday, into Sunday. If you have any plans to maybe celebrate or watch the Super Bowl, it's going to be warm. Rain is not going to be much of a concern around the area. Maybe you're going to be traveling here locally, heading to any Super Bowl parties. I don't think the weather is going to be much of an issue with that. And even heading into early next week, signs are more so showing that we're going to stay in that warmer pattern. It could see a few showers by Monday, but it looks like at this time that warmer air is going to be sticking around. Well, this graphic just updated, so I originally had hardly any rain in the forecast. This must have literally just updated. I prepped the show beforehand, but generally speaking, through about Monday and early Tuesday of next week, we're hardly expecting much rain at all. Maybe a quarter of an inch as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. That's when our rain chances are looking higher. But at least through Sunday, Monday, and early Tuesday of next week, I'm not anticipating much rainfall. There are some signs, though, that a cold front may be approaching us from the north by Monday and Tuesday of next week. I actually increased our high temperatures a little bit. There are some indications that that front may be stalling just to our north or maybe not pushing through too far to the south. So don't be surprised if we continue to increase those temperatures Monday and Tuesday of next week. We're very confident that through Saturday and Sunday, high temperatures are going to be in the mid to even upper 70s, especially for our inland areas. Inland spots, you could even be reaching the low 80s at times. There is a little less confidence with that forecast on Monday and Tuesday. Again, it depends on how far south that cold front will be moving through our area. If this ridge of high pressure over the Gulf holds strong next week, that means we're going to be staying a little bit warmer. If the ridge breaks down a little bit, then we could see some cooler air moving in from the north. We're going to be battling in between that ridge of high pressure and that big trough well to our north, it looks like early next week. So depending on the position of those, that will determine if we're going to be seeing cooler weather or if we are going to be staying warmer than average early next week. The Climate Prediction Center shows that areas near Florida, closer to that ridge, very likely going to be warmer than average. Areas in the Pacific Northwest and Northern Plains very likely going to stay cooler than average early next week and even throughout the middle of the week. We're kind of in that battleground zone between that trough and that ridge, so it all depends on where exactly those are going to be setting up early next week. Like I said, the trend today is showing that ridge staying a little bit stronger, so that would keep us warmer by early next week. We'll let you know as we get closer and closer to Monday and Tuesday. But for now, things are looking a little bit warmer than average. Now, even though things are warmer than average right now, doesn't mean that winter is over just yet. Usually, our average last freeze for Gulfport happens right around February 20th to the 21st. And history tells us that we can have freezes on the coast as late as the middle to end of March, and that happened just a few seasons ago. Back in 2023, seems like we had our last freeze of the season on March 20th. Last year we had that last freeze in Gulfport on February 19th. So even though it's still warm this week, we still could see some cooler weather in the future. Not going to rule that out, but at least in the near future, things are looking very spring-like. Rain chances are still looking slim. I'm not anticipating much rain at all over the next 6 to 7 days. Now by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we may be seeing more rain around the area, but at least through the weekend, hardly any rain expected. So a Super Bowl Sunday around here looks really nice. A little bit more sunshine, maybe a few isolated showers. That's going to be about it. Temperatures even on the coast in the mid 70s, could see some low 80s north of I-10. And that really goes throughout the end of the week as well, Thursday and Friday. I'm not ruling out some low 80s farther inland, especially if we see a little bit more sunshine. No freezes though in the forecast this week, even though winter officially not over until the middle of March. At least for this week, we are going to stay well above freezing at night with lows in the 50s and 60s. If we have any issues, it's mainly going to be in the form of fog. That is possible again tonight and tomorrow night. It may be dense at times, so just a heads up on that. But overall, things are looking very warm, very spring-like for this time of the year. I know the groundhog supposedly saw a shadow, which meant 6 more weeks of winter, but at least for this week, no winter-like weather in the forecast. It's the complete opposite. We will have another update on your forecast coming up today on WLOX News Now at 4. I will be joining Jennifer Lott for that show, so hopefully you can join us on air, and we will be fine-tuning the details with the forecast over the next couple of days, so hopefully you will stick with us. But for now, enjoy the